Did you know that you can tell what time of day it is simply by looking at where the sun is in the sky? Amazing, huh? I'm going to show you how. All right, to do this, I've got a nail in some clay to represent a person, okay, and I have a flashlight to represent the sun. Now, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Now, the sun appears to move across the sky. We talked about this yesterday. Is the sun actually moving around us? No. We revolve around the sun. But why then does it look like the sun's going around us if the sun rises in the east and sets in the west? Well, that's because of Earth's rotation on its axis. Every 24 hours, we get to experience some time of daylight and then some time of dark. So, the sun's position appears to change throughout the day because of our rotation. When the sun first comes up at sunrise, the sun rises in the east. And notice our shadow is going the opposite. The shadow is in the west. When the sun is overhead, the shadow is very short. And then when the sun's in the west, the shadow's in the east. Again, going the opposite. So, to help tell time by the sun, if the sun is in the east, then my shadow is west. The sun is low in the sky, and the shadow is so long it goes off the page. But as it goes higher and higher, the shadow gets shorter and shorter and shorter. When it's directly overhead, the shadow is very short. And then, as the sun starts to go down, the shadow gets longer and longer and longer. So, if the sun is low, the shadow is long. If the sun is high, the shadow is short. So, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. The shadow goes the opposite way. The sun is low, the shadow is long. The sun is high, the shadow is short. So how does this work? Let's practice. We're just basically going to ask these questions. Is the sun in the east or the west? The sun is in the east. If the sun is in the east, will my shadow be in the east or the west? It goes the opposite direction. So if the sun is in the east, I know my shadow will be in the west. Now, let's look at how high it is. Is the sun high or low in the sky? It's low. If the sun is low, will my shadow be long or short? Low and long go together. So, if it's low in the sky, I need a long shadow. So, which one would be correct? If you chose A, you got it right. Because the sun's in the east, my shadow goes west. The sun is low, so my shadow is long. Let's try another one. This time, the sun is on this side. Is the sun in the east or the west? The sun is in the west, so my shadow will be in the east. It'll be on the east side. Now let's look at the sun's position. Is the sun low or high in the sky? If the sun is low, then my shadow will be short or long. If the sun is low, the shadow is long. So look at our choices again. If the sun is here, which shadow would be correct? If you chose C, you chose correctly. The sun is low, so the shadow is long. The sun's in the west, so the shadow's in the east. But what time of day would that be? If the sun's in the west, is it AM or PM? That's PM. You're waning, you're tired, you're getting ready for bed. What time does the sun set? Somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m., depending on the time of year. Let's just go with 7 p.m. Okay, look at this one. The sun is not in the east or west, it's directly overhead. So the next question would then be, is the sun high in the sky or low in the sky? It's high. If the sun is high, then will my shadow be long or short? If the sun is high, my shadow should be short. Look at your choices. Which would be the correct shadow, A, B, or C? If you chose B, you chose correctly. When the sun is high, the shadow is short. But what time of day would that be? When is the sun directly overhead? If you said noon, that would be right. Is noon 12 a.m. or 12 p.m.? Well, it's past morning, so that's 12 p.m. This one's different. It's not high or low. It's in between. But I can tell if it's east or west. Is the sun in the east or the west? The sun is in the east, so that means my shadow needs to be in the west. Now, it's not high or low, so I'm going to need some different shadows here because it's in between. Which shadow would be correct, A or B? If you chose A, you chose well. The sun's in the east, so the shadow goes west. But what time of day is it? Well, we said 7 a.m. was here and 12 p.m. was here. So it's got to be between those. And since the sun's in the east, it's still a.m., so a time between 7 a.m. and 12 p.m., let's go with 10 a.m., because that would be between. That would be around 10 a.m. All right, now let's try some where the shadow is there and figure out where the sun should be. So if the shadow's in the east, is the sun going to be in the east or the west? If the shadow's in the east, the sun will be on the opposite, so it'll be on the west. But now we'll have to decide whether to put it high or low or somewhere in between. So take a look at my shadow length. Is it long or short? If the shadow is long, the sun will be low. So if the sun is in the west, is it a.m. or p.m.? p.m. is correct. About what time of day does the sun set? You could choose anything from 6 to 8 p.m. We'll just go with 7 p.m. Okay, my shadow has moved. Is my shadow in the east or in the west? The shadow is in the west, so that means the sun has to be in the east because it goes the opposite. So I know it's somewhere on this half of the page. I have to now decide if my sun should be high or low. I look at my shadow. Is my shadow long or short? That's pretty long. So if the shadow is long, the sun should be low. Okay, is the sun in the east or the west? The sun is in the east, so is that a.m. or p.m.? East is early, that's a.m. So about what time does the sun come up? Well, about 7 a.m. Where should the sun go for this one? Let's look at my shadow. Is it long or short? That's definitely a short shadow. So should my sun be high or low? It should be high, directly overhead. About what time of day is the sun directly overhead? At noon? Good. Noon is 12 what? A.m. or p.m.? 12 p.m. is noon. Let's try one more. Oh, that one's different. All right, let's start with direction. Is the shadow in the east or the west? The shadow is in the east, so the sun should be in the west because it's opposite. Now we have to decide where to put it. Is the shadow long, short, or somewhere in between? Oh, in between. So where should I put my sun? Should it be low? Should it be high? Or somewhere in between? I'm going to go somewhere in between. Now, if the sun is in the west, is it AM or PM? PM is correct. It's past morning, right? So if this was 12 p.m. and this was 7 p.m., then that would have to be around 3 p.m. Now you know how to tell time simply by looking at the sun and shadows. I want you to practice this on the worksheet that I've assigned today. If you need help, watch the video again.